Okay, I'm going to do one here on Malta Boy. Where we're at here is up in Russia, right up here near Lake Baikal, which is a gigantic freshwater lake. It's the largest freshwater lake in the world. It has special types of sponges in it and everything. I could do an entire video on it. Seal populations, all kinds of stuff. And we've been up in this area here recently talking about Proto IndoEuropeans all up through this area here. And we're up in the edge of Siberia. And right here is the Bering Ice Bridge idea that runs right across. Just to show where you were at. And I'm going to show you a few pictures here right before we go into the article here to show you just some of the other things that are found. There have been so many articles put out here lately on this exact same subject. And but I don't think they're looking into it in as much depth as they probably should look into it. And so I thought I'd do a video on it. Somebody shot me a thing about it, and I thought that I would do that. I could go into my D&D game where I do sometimes and show you this area we go into that's all in the far north where we have to fight frost giants and things, and everybody has built their houses out of mammoth bones and skins and stuff like this in that area, an Arctic type of people. And so when I tell you Dungeons and Dragons has a lot to do with it and things, it definitely does. What the hell's up with the ringy dingy? Okay, anyhow though, you can see this idea built here and made out of mammoth tusks and archway. Could be where the first arches came from, perhaps, knowing that that had structure stability to it when locked together. But a lot of these little primordial houses looked a lot like this, if you will. Mammoth bones, skins. So these are all off of these animals, of course, and things too. There's a lot of symbology with them. And of course that can lead into something that's much more like a tent. And this Kostinki dwelling that they find in this area has these tent dwellings that look much more like this, which looks like Amerindians, which leads us into what we're going to talk about today with this Malta boy, along with the idea that, well, Proto-Indo-European languages and linguistics show you that they named that place Malta, and then there's another place called Malta over here near Greece, and that that does correlate together somewhat. But only because of linguistics and people in other areas using the same name for a similar area. So let's continue here a little bit. This is way up in the edge of Russia again, and a lot of things have been found. Here's a good picture of some of the artifacts they found there. Well, not really a good picture of it, I guess, but some. And in with it is a Venus figurine. And we've looked at those Venus figurines quite often, and recently I did a double-part video on the goddess and so on, and how the original female and the mother situation and her being a heavy-set, large-breasted woman and so on that would signify a mother and so on. And this depiction is generally not quite as stereotypic or quite as heavy a woman as the regular Venus, but known that it is a Venus figure, so it makes connections too. And this also connects the Americas with the old world, but it also connects it to Europe, which is off the screen there. So let's take a look at a few of these, if I can get this to react right for me again. Oh my God, you piece of shit. Okay, and there's some way out of that. Let's continue here. So they have found people in the faces of certain Venus statues, and they say, well, they didn't look like that in these elder clay mask shapes that they had come out of them. But what did the earlier ones look like? And they had this meshing on their head in this square. So here's an artist's depiction of what one of them might have looked like. Here's another one. Here's another one. variations on a theme and what the women might have actually looked like. Did they braid their hair? Was it just wiggly and they tried to make that look somehow? Anyhow, so one of these women like this had a boy. Here's other symbols where you can see the symbolic lines and so on. And this eventually leads into an idea of swastikas that's actually been around since before this point. But here you can see a feminine body, a butt sticking out somewhat, and then this is a female figurine here, and a Venus type figurine. And Venus figurines are found from this area all the way over to Europe, but not into the Americas. Not that we've found. And so what we're looking at here is genetics that actually show you what the Malta boy is closest to. And strangely, he's closest to these Chippewa and Sioux people over here in northeastern America and up into the edge of the Canadas. And it's well known that the Mandan Sioux were supposedly fair-haired and some blue-eyed in the group that was there, along with some of the Cherokee and Choctaw. And so let's look into this a little further. They should also show another genetics here. This is a haplogroup C, showing its dispersion and how it ran down into here too from a different origin that apparently shows up to be much more south of this situation, above Indian to the right some, but also that had led over into Australia. They show you with this connection here, and the Melanesians that are there, and the islands that are around there, and what Aborigines come from. So what's neat about this, though, in this picture here, is this tells you it's derived from Malta boy M1, MA1, in addition post-Columbian admixture. Haplogroup RM173 or R1 is common among Native Americans, 38 to 79%. And you're like, okay, so where does that come from? Well, it has a European origin. Here's another picture of his remains that were found, and a sketch was done whenever he was found. Now this is the Venus figurine here, just stuck into the dirt still, but this is as they uncovered it. And he had a headpiece around him and this nice necklace. He's about a 4-year-old boy, 24,000 years old, and whenever they did the genome on him, it showed up to be modern humans. And they're saying this is the oldest modern human genome that they found, short of the Cro-Magnon man, whose haplogroup and alleles are still extant today. And that goes back to, I think it was a 36,000-year-old skeleton they derived that out of. So let's look into this a little more. I know there was another picture I wanted to show you here. Oh, there was Kostinki man up in Siberia. Looks a little like Incredible Hulk, if you will. And these Venus figurines that you see here. This Malta type of boy. And they found the DNA from his bones. Alright, so let's look into this a little more. And I recently did a few videos. Let me go to this real quick. So I recently did a few videos. Here's one of those elder statuettes, I guess, but this is a lion figurine. But a long time ago, well, it wasn't that long ago, it was only like February of this year, but look how many videos I've come up with since then. It's just amazing. And a lot of them are showing different aspects and correlations all around, dancing all around this, and of course a lot of them about Egypt and things like that, the Bible stories and so on. And as we get all the way back here, it should be about the last one seen, because right here we're only at Easter. And there's Origins of Egypt. Love that series there, showing Sumerian origins and connections. And here we are with the mother of all creation. These two that are over here, these are the ones I'm talking about, and it shows this Venus doll and so on. And it's all correlating to this Venus statuette situation, which we can apply mentally to this now at this time. Wow, way back here, people, way back. Lucia woman, transatlantic voyages, secret of Egyptians, cocaine mummies, all kinds of cool stuff. There's one I've got to put out, and Neverwinter. I finally did this one thing that used to be on the old player's handbook that they had in the game, so I made a little video of it. Ethiopians and all the places that they said Ethiopians lived at the time, and Has nothing to do with the people that we have there today, which used to be called Abyssinia until just recently. We're not going to misconstrue that in the modern day, are we? Well, people sure try. Solutrean woman from way back when, and so on. Here's one about my journey, and it's really a drunken thing I did in Christmas, so I'm kind of leery about putting it out to y'all because it kind of goes all melancholy and crap and stuff, and how I'm not going to try to mislead y'all. But anyhow, so here's the first Amerindians, Caucasians of the New World. Whoops. Let me get down here on top of that. First Amerindians, Caucasians of the New World, and they show like a polar bear that they already found there, and these symbolic scratching on them, 9 and 11 and 13 and so on, and their village that they had found, and that these were Caucasian Proto IndoEuropeans coming across the Americas. Not even a blend thing like they find in this one kid here, but this one kid shows a lot. It shows you the people running in together, and they talk about it, and I guess I'll vamp over it as we do it. So ancient DNA from Siberian boy links Europe and the Americas. Now this was done over 5 years ago, and there's been a lot of papers since then, but this is just kind of an overlook, and this one is fairly concise and directly to the point. Scientists have mapped the genome of a 4-year-old boy who died in south-central Siberia 24,000 years ago. It is the oldest modern human genome sequenced to date, researchers report in the Journal of Nature. And here are those artifacts again that you see in the Venus statuette and so on. He's also, want to mention here, north is that way, and the way his body positioned, he is facing to the east on his side, and as a lot of the even Cro-Magnon burials were way back before then. Although I don't believe they mention a large deposit of red ochre. It may have stained away, or maybe they didn't put it on it, I'm not sure. The results provide a window into the origins of Native Americans, or Amerindians, whose ancestors crossed from Siberia into the New World during the last Ice Age. They suggest that about a third of Native American ancestry came from an ancient population related to Europeans. Analyzing the genes of present-day populations can only tell us so much about the past because traces of ancient movements have been overwritten so many times, pardon me, or the page has turned in time, if you will. So studying the DNA from ancient remains is becoming a powerful tool for disentangling the numerous waves of migration that produce the genetic patterns seen in people today. And again, all the study that I had done really didn't have genetics attached to it. It's a newer thing that they're being able to do this type of thing. And so I was looking off of conjecture and pottery and things, and all these people, and they want to have a 2-hour dissertation over 2 chips of pottery and go off on things like that, where somebody could just do a DNA test and go, look, yeah, here it is, right here, yeah, yeah. So, yeah, they did have that pottery, but this is the people. It's not like, did they have a pot? Did they find a pot and show up there with it? I mean, there's so many things it could be. But whenever you find the genetics of the person sitting next to the pot, well, now that's a horse of a different color. So studying the DNA from ancient remains is becoming a powerful tool for doing this. The burial of an upper Paleolithic Siberian boy, known as Naálta boy, is discovered along with numerous artifacts in the 1920s by Russian archaeologists near the village of Naálta along the Belaya River, which leads into Lake Baikal. With these remains of a young kid were all sorts of cultural items, one of which was a Venus figurine, lead researcher Eske Villersev from University of Copenhagen told to the Nature podcast. These Venus figurines are found all the way west of this area into Europe, and I showed you that in those videos I just showed you before a moment ago. If you'll go and look at them, you can see all the places they are, variations on a theme, and how they've been able to use, in ancient times, things like that in pottery to show you people moving around. And genetics, when you overlap it, shows that it's almost exactly right. Yet some of these people were actually adopted in, other people blended, and so on. And it's kind of a little different than what that showed, but it's also more contingent. Anyhow, Dr. Willislev and a colleague obtained a sample from the boy's arm bone, extracted DNA, and compared it with that of present-day populations. And they tell you here the overseeing is Native Americans are composed of meeting of two populations, an East Asian group of Caucasians, or an Asiatic Mongoloid, and these Malta West Eurasian populations. So it's kind of like pre Proto IndoEuropeans, if you will. And it also dates at about the same time as Mohila, which is not too far away and just back a little more west of there, and almost on the same latitude too. And it shows human interaction there at 22,000 BC, and it mentions Sumerian gods of Ana and Utu and Anu and things, and a lot of stuff, but it's done in type of scratch art, and shows mammoths and things there. It's quite amazing. You ought to see my video on it. Mohila. It's Kamayanamohyla, although they do spell it a couple of different ways. That should pull it up. When we sequenced this genome, something strange appeared, he explained. Parts of the genome you find today in Western Eurasians, other parts of the genome you find today in Native Americans, and are unique today to Native Americans. So in other words, the other part here seems to have come over, but it ain't over here anymore, right? DNA from the boy's Y chromosome and from the mitochondrial, or the cell's batteries, were types found today in a region encompassing Europe, West and South Asia, and North Africa, but rare or absent in Central Asia, East Asia, and the Americas. So that's a little bit strange how you apparently arched over right through that and made a big run for it. I mean, it almost seems. But they might find more. Let's continue. The researchers estimate that 14 to 38% of the ancestry of Native Americans traces to a population like the one living at Malta 24,000 years ago. But the most puzzling part of this finding is that the boys showed no clear affinities with East Asian populations, such as Chinese, Koreans, or Japanese. So he didn't really have the Asiatic Mongoloid situation going on either. Today's Native Americans are more closely related to East Asians, and the scientists had to work out how the Malta boy could be related to indigenous Americans, but not East Asians. The most likely scenario, they argue, is that a population like the one living in Siberia 24,000 years ago mixed with the ancestors of East Asians at some point after the boy died. Now, did they do that over here or over there? And the strange thing about my other two videos, it shows that no, these guys that were even mixed with this kid made it all the way into the Americas. And so was it mixed over there and bounced back and forth a few times? And whenever that strait became apparent, or some groups made it down through, and then those groups ended up becoming the Amerindians. It's possible. The Native Americans are composed of the meeting of two populations, an East Asian group and these Malta West Eurasian populations, said Dr. Willislev. However, it remains unclear where this mixing took place. And this is a far fingerlet of Lake Baikal. It is much, much huger. It could have happened in the old world, somewhere in Siberia, obviously, or in principle, it could have happened in the New World, he explained. The most direct way to address this question would be to genome sequence some of the early skeletons from the Americas. If they already had the mixture of East Asians and the Malta, then we know it happened before that. Well, we just said that we found some that didn't. And so, did it happen over there and bounce back? And some of the Eskimos we see are people that bounced back and had gotten so used to the cold, they stayed up there. They never left. They found it a good way of life and never seeked, to go further from that. The research could help explain some long-standing anomalies in the study of Native American origins. For example, some early American skeletons, such as the 9,000-year-old Kennewick man from Washington State, bear physical features that, according to some, are typical of Europeans and unlike those of modern Native American groups are Eastern Asians or Mongoloids. And so that attaches that one too. And so Malta boy here, I'm probably going to do another one on this here shortly coming up. But he's found with this little staff type thing that he had. And there's another site that's found, or it's this one, where with him was found this one little thing you could hold on to, and it had other little deals attached to it. and it looked like they thought it was a rattle for a kid, and I thought the kid was a little too old for it. I believe this was Malta boy, so one of those little pieces down there is some type of little mobile rattle type of thing. But you can imagine a mother, whenever her son dies, and she may still have that rattle, not another child that's using it at that time, and so she put it in the burial with him, perhaps. Quite neat and enlightening here, though, showing you the peopling of the ancient Americas and how that Proto-Indo-European Caucasian people, man, they got around from the farthest reaches of Europe all the way through into China, and it looks like coming above that and going into the Americas, all the way down to the top of India, all the way across through and past Egypt, up into the Horn of Africa, as it says in the definition of Caucasian race, all the way across North Africa, like described here, and around the entire Mediterranean like a loop. Indeed, they were the part of the central of the old world, and other people were in outlying stretches at that point and still really occupy those points to this day. So yeah, neat little thing there. And again, I'll probably compile another one that'll go into depth on this. I may hold this one until that one comes out, or just go ahead and pop this out to keep you interested. Okay guys, I'm in this area here, but what I'm going to do is load into the other area here and show you where I was just talking about with all the bones and things like that. I'm just going to take a signpost straight out of here rather than having to do the doorways. And let's go to Icewind Dale, which is way up there north, and then you can see the ice lands that are here. We'll go ahead and go to Sea of Moving Ice. There's actually 4 of them. One is on the edge of the ice, and whenever you go up into the mountains on the edge of it, it shows up ice and things like that, and you see ice giants. The others show up like this, and see if we can see it already there. There's that on the left, one of those huts, and it's made out of mammoth teeth and so on. Here I am where these giant Viking ships have showed up. The Northern Lights are there. So I teleport in on this. See if I can pick up any one of the... I can pick up her quest. I'm just going to go ahead and do that real quick, but not do the quest. So you can see these huts that I was talking about and how they're made out of mammoth bones, right? And skins. And this looks very similar to what we looked at there. So whenever I tell you that D&D kind of has a lot of this in on it, it really does. It definitely does. Let me show you my kayak I've got. It's pretty badass. Got a little magical dragon skin on the thing so it flies. Watch this. Pow! You can see that little green sparkle that goes on there, right? I'm just going to head over here. There's some these Viking ships and so on that are over here, and more of these people. I just want to show you what this looks like, I guess, and compare it, that concept of idea. You can see these curly-tipped boats look very much like, Phoenicians or Vikings, right? But these are giants, and these are giant boats. And you can see that the sails on them are made out of dragon wings. Gigantic dragon wings. In fact, there's a few places out here where there's some skeletons of dragons, and we go to the well of dragons, and there's some gigantic ones that are out there, too, and so on. And I think I've showed you I fought Tiamat, and so that's in here too, Tiamat and Bahamut and the whole idea. Anyhow, so, there's a little bit more like a Phoenician trawler right there, huh? There's another one right over there. Some of these have little quests and you have to go in and get them. Other ones have these little giant guys, and there's these totems that you have to get like here and so on in certain quests. So there's these other huts too, these guys. Just go up here and kick his butt. Oh, he ran right past me. Okay. But you can see his little hut here. It's all set up with the cots and everything. It's made out of wood, but there's not much wood around here, but you get it from just south of there. And you could get it from your boats that you brought up here too, couldn't you? Yeah, you could get it from there. See all these places that are made like these old lean-tos and things. They're really made along that same old style that was there from long, long ago. See if I can make it around these. Try to flick after me. And now that I'm in a fight, if I try to jump in the water, it'll kill me. So I might as well take out all these guys for fun. Oh, the other ones didn't even come after me. So you can see these setups that are here. Anyhow, and there was a group of huts that were right in here, but they're not here now. Let's go around over here and I'll show you one more group of these huts. Where you can see they're made out of whale bones and mammoth bones and so on. I can't actually go inside of one. I do save people from them though on this one other quest that they give you during that time. There's these other buildings that look quite a bit like this, and now we're making somewhat of a circle. Want to see me kill 2 ice giants? I'll crush you, bud. Nah, I'm not beneath you. That's just because you're taller than me. I'll cut you off at the knees. Oh. You don't want to get behind them. They're slow moving. If you let them hit you, it's a hard hit. But all you got to do is dodge it and then hit them. So there's kind of modes for fighting these guys. Anyhow, guys, let's jump into this one that's all been wrecked. There's quests where you get the things up there, but you have to fight these guys whenever you do it. So yeah, these huts and houses that are all made out of mammoth bones and things and so on that they had there. Semi-portable, usually round, just like the yurts are. In fact, a yurt would be a modern interpretation of that, being made no longer from giant mammoth bones, of course. You can see them up on that ledge right there. There's a whole grouping of them. Right? This is the little village of Umio. And there's a quest where you got to pick up that, and whenever you do, you get your boat. Then you have to upgrade it and stuff too. And let's see, is this the one where I can go into here and go up? Yeah, I can go up here and go up and on top. Ooh, and there's people there. So you can see the staircase going down right there. Yeah, if I get any closer, they're going to come after me. Big deal, I whoop them. So yeah, cool. And you can see how far up I am here now looking down on this. And you can see those bones and stuff that are down there. Watch, if I fall in the water, boom, up on my boat. That did take some damage though, huh? Cancel it out. I don't want to collect these ice fragments. I'm not really doing this anymore, but here's all these ice fragments. Here's a guy in here fighting these guys. I'm going to go ahead and clear them out for him. I got you, boy. Alright. So again, guys, these old totem ideas, ancient Proto IndoEuropean, Eskimoid type. Looked like they had a lot more European in them than what we were thinking, huh? Looks like genetics is again showing us something quite neat. Anyhow, guys, that's going to end it. I'm going to do my dailies here in a minute, so I'll just go ahead and kill the video here, and I'll try to edit out the BS a little bit later. Appreciate y'all. Like, share, and subscribe, and enjoy.